On Zoom, it's okay.
Okay, let's see. So this is my mic. All right, folks can hopefully hear me now. And that's all right. So folks on YouTube. Okay, shit. Hopefully it'll come back. Okay. Let me know if you can hear me now. Give me a thumbs up. Well, no, I can't see you, but let me know. I know there's a little bit of a lag, so I fixed it, but I'll have to wait for you guys to confirm. Okay, so Vishwanathan is saying it is okay, Matthias, Smart Talk. All right. Whew. Hey, we made it, guys. All right. Well, I guess now I can officially welcome you to the Talk Power BI dashboard and makeover. Now, what is this about? What is this whole thing about? This whole thing is that I've been working and teaching people Power BI for a long time, and I was surprised, even shocked by what I saw. And of course, what I wanted for them was to be successful. And initially, my whole thing was, oh, Power BI changed my life, and I'm here to change yours. But what I realized was that that wasn't happening. I mean, some folks would get what I call breakthrough success, become celebrities inside their companies, 4x their income as consultants, but a lot of others didn't. And I was mystified and frustrated because that's what I wanted. I wanted breakthrough success for my students. And I realized that there was very little, or I would say no, correlation as such with the amount of technical skills they had, how smart they were in DAX or M or anything else, or the the hard how much harder they worked, right? And and the common thread that I found was that, man, the folks who were hitting it out of the park, again, getting that breakthrough success, were not just doing good work, they were telling great stories. So Dashboard Showcase and Makeover is really a platform for our students primarily, but for our YouTube followers too, to step up and share their stories. Sometimes it's their first time, and that's great. We want this to feel like a safe environment where you can step up and share your story, and everybody's gonna, kind of, give you some love, right? And or maybe you're here to refine it, because that's how we make our story, right, more powerful, by just telling it again and again as you iterate, as you define, right? So, and this, just to be clear, we're talking about the story of your work, all the amazing work you've done, but can you tell a story about it? And some of the most powerful settings you are going to find where you do tell your story are going to be one-on-one settings. This could be an interview, or this could be a discussion, a meeting with the potential client, and this hopefully is practice for that. All right. Oh boy, man, that whole OBS issue. All right, great. So let's see. Nikolas is here, and I was trying to keep a list of who submitted, and we might have quite a few. Quite a few. So Nikolas, I know we have one from you, and I see you on the call.
Yep, I'm here, Avi.
Awesome. Hi. And I see Samuel as well, and I see Matthias. Okay, we got that. Anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else from the Learn Power BI team who's on the call, who sent in a dashboard, or would like to, kind of share your story, even if you didn't send in? Okay, let me know. Put it in the chat window. But so far, I have Nikolas, Matthias, Samuel, and from our YouTube community, guys, if you're here, let us know. And Robert might help me here to kind of keep track of who's who's here. So YouTube. Again, we had quite a few submissions. Oh, I think BL is a student as well. All right, Nikolas, I say we start things with you. I'm gonna stop my screen share. Do you want to share your screen? Do you want to drive it?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. All right, I have prepared one report or dashboard which I was working on lately. I just refreshed it, and here I published it to my website. So if anyone would be interested to play with the dashboard and give me some feedback, you can go to Power BI Consulting, and you will find the dashboard right there, published.
Nice.
I updated the report just maybe 30 minutes ago, and some changes are still not here. Not sure why, but this is almost the final report. So if it's basically a technical support and customer service report.
Okay, so actually, let's give us some background. So tell us who you help, how do you help them?
All right. So the dashboard came from a real customer. Of course, the data is fully anonymized and randomized. So this is a clean dashboard.
Yeah.
And after I finished the project there, I continued developing the dashboard further, and I'm playing with it almost every day these days. So
so who do you help?
Yeah, I'm mainly focusing on customer service, technical support organizations or parts of the organizations, call centers, shared service centers, etc. I spent most of my career in the technical support and customer service business, so like almost 14 years, and 5 years ago I got involved with Power BI. It evolved into this stage.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I started consulting, and I'm doing Power BI only now.
That's great. And folks, I would call out that is a great way to kind of go forward in your career. Like whatever you had been doing, you have a lot of business expertise here. In this case, Nikolas had been working around the the kind of call center and service industry for many years. He had a lot of business expertise, and now he has kind of pivoted and turned around and just helps that community with Power BI. Cool. So yeah, let's dive in. Thanks for the context. Yeah, that definitely helps.
All right. I can see that customers are finding it very useful that I'm not only, let's say, getting. I'm not only helping them with Power BI, but I have also all the business insights from customer service and technical support. So I can even guide them how to come up with even better reports and more insights. So that's an added value for sure. Okay, so if you take a look on the report, I tried to create some navigation around it, so you don't have to switch between pages, but you use this main navigation. The customer can click on the backlog overview, and it will.
Wow.
It will, or it will not.
Control click? What is going on?
No.
Actually, this is embedded, right? I'm playing on the site as well.
Backlog. Okay, let's do it.
Oh yeah, Power BI. It's weird. It worked for me.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah.
But we can do it from here, from Power BI. That's fine. Okay, so first screen is taking you to some overview where you have some default overview where you are in the organization.
So actually, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but if we just pause right there. And so you talked about kind of call center, service industry, and so forth. I got that. That makes sense. What would you say are the big challenges that they're struggling with? Just off the top of your head, like top 3, what comes to mind?
Top one and two and three is always customer satisfaction. So
Really?
that's the
Wow.
holy grail of
Ooh.
customer service, of course.
Okay, great, great, man. I'm loving it
And
already. But let's break it down. So, customer satisfaction is that like I mean, I feel like there might be a few different ways to look at it. Is it simply just asking them how happy you are, or is it more than that?
it's more than that. So asking them how happy they are, that's done through the surveys and
Yeah.
customer satisfaction surveys and the NPS score and so on. But ha having happy customers, it has much more weight than some or most of the companies would like to allow themselves to think about it, because if you have a happy customer, one happy customer can bring you many other happy customers, but one
Oh,
really pissed off customer can can do you a lot of harm.
yeah.
That's one thing. The other thing with the customers is that they are providing you feedback, and very valued feedback, very important feedback about your products, about your services, and you need to be, careful, and you need to listen actively to these customers.
Wow.
And
Man, so
well,
so this is so awesome. So I mean, of course, I'm hearing from you, which a lot of smart companies have realized, right? I mean, of course,
mhm,
Apple is a great example. I mean, they're known for their legendary customer service. But I remember, I'm thinking back to the companies that I worked with. A lot of times, support was this backwater function. Nobody
exactly.
kind of cared about it, and you would treat it like mushroom, right? I mean, kept in dark and fed BS, right? So, right, I mean, and yeah, and people try to minimize the cost as much as possible. And of course, there was a wave, and right, I mean, so, but of course, smarter companies have realized that you need to kind of highlight that, right? Because they have a finger on the pulse of the customer, and that is the most valuable relationship. So great, man. I mean, I'm loving it, right? I mean, it's giving me a bit of a taste of your life, really, right? I mean, what you've been living for the past several years. Cool. So I might still interrupt you later, but cool. Let's dive into the dashboard. But I'm kind of getting it. Like customer satisfaction is the biggest thing, but then how can we look into the data to make sure that things are working right, that we're not dropping the ball, we're not doing something to create angry customers, and we're doing
Right,
things to create happy customers. So cool.
right.
Let's take a look.
Avi, that's what took me into the Power BI world, because we were doing the reporting the old way, exporting the data from Excel and then, or from various data sources like Salesforce and so on, working on the data in Excel. And by the time we were showing the data on our meetings, we were showing nonsense. It was already the past. So I was looking for some way how to show real-time data. And that's one very strong part of or side of Power BI. I really like that. And of course, all the insights which you can get with Power BI and you cannot with Excel, simple Excel. So yeah, I mean, this report is fairly big. So if you,
Yeah.
we started only here in the backlog part, and if you go into the backlog, you can see that even the backlog is divided into several sub categories. So you can analyze
Wow.
your backlog
Really
from the
detailed.
region, from the status, how many cases you have in what type of status, case status. Then you can
Yeah.
break it by
I'll
product.
say, you clearly have a lot here,
Mhm.
but pick one story which you feel is the most powerful story, and let's focus on that rather than trying to get, a taste of everything. I mean, yeah,
Oh,
which would
good
you pick?
question. So, for example,
So,
the customer alert part, that's an interesting one. That's valued highly by the
yeah.
customer
So
here.
let's keep that lens on because I liked it, which is like, hey, you're serving, this industry, call center, tech support, and all that stuff, right? And their highest thing is customer satisfaction.
Mhm.
So from that perspective, yeah, which do you feel is is yeah the good story to highlight?
You mean a story from the past
No, no, no. Just
or
just
from the
here.
report?
Like,
Yeah,
what
just here.
would be
Yeah, yeah,
they would
okay.
find really valuable? Like they would go, whoa, that is really cool.
Well, okay. So if you would go here, like basic customer satisfaction, this report is showing you data from your customer satisfaction surveys.
Yeah.
You can see your response rate, your overall result, how many surveys did you get in the last time period, let's say here in the last 2 years. But you can dive deeper into specific questions like how professional was the agent, and the report is automatically showing you the results for that. But you can say, okay, I'm interested in one guy who is working in the team. How is he doing?
Yeah.
Maybe this guy will not. Okay, so he got a few surveys only, but
Yeah.
that's the thing, that you cannot do this in real life with other tools. And this customer specifically, they really like slicers. So I have plenty of slicers here, and you can just go into deeper and deeper details and find that customer who really has some issue, who you can filter it by customers as well, by the way. So you can focus on the customer where you can see some issue and you can find out the cause. And other way how to identify some customers which might need your attention, I came up with this customer alert dashboard.
Yeah.
So first, maybe it's a bit difficult to see how it works, but I'm using these parameters here, like how many cases they have right now, how many they had last month, last 6 months, last 12 months. Then some other parameters here, if let's focus on VIP customers or not. And you can even adjust the weight of these parameters. And at the end, it is splitting you out a list of customers. And the most critical customer by these parameters is on the top. So you can immediately see that, wow, this customer, they had plenty of cases. We have some issues here. Let's focus on them. And of course, then you click on the link and it takes you to the CRM, and you can work with Salesforce or whatever you were using. So
Nikolas, and hey guys, I definitely want to hear from you folks on YouTube and on the chat here, Zoom chat. What do you guys think about this? Because I think, Nikolas, man, this is a home run. I mean, this is the good stuff. So you showed the earlier dashboard. Can you go back to that again? The first one, kind of the customer survey. Now that one is great, and I always love starting simple with my client. Frankly, when I start, I often say that the first dashboard that I build often has just uses two DAX measures. There's sum and there's count rows, right? That's more often than not my first dashboard, and I keep it simple, and even that is really valuable. I mean, oftentimes they're like blown away just by that. That's the power of Power BI. It is pretty amazing. So this one comes from kind of a classic approach. Yep, and they might have been used to seeing these kind of visuals or numbers in the past. Now, of course, this is amazing because it's fully interactive. So earlier, people would present this in a PowerPoint, and then as happens in any meeting, if there are any follow-up questions, like, hey, what is driving that increase or something? I was like, hey, I heard that rep was having trouble, or I heard that customer is very upset. And you couldn't do anything. You walked out with like a 200 action items. But here, of course, as Nikolas showed, I mean, you have, obviously it's interactive. So if you want to click on a specific month, you can click on that and everything filters. And then he has a rich set of slicers here and here. So that is awesome, but that is still kind of classic Power BI. So this, again, when I start working with a new client who haven't really been around Power BI, I do something simple, and of course this is more advanced than I do. I mean, I my first dashboard is just sum and count row. So this is amazing, but the other one is mind blowing. So Nikolas, we'll come back to this and dive into this deeper, but take us to the other one, the high risk score one. And folks, that one is amazing because obviously if you realize that you can use this concept for anything, right? And this is going from reactive to proactive. And of course, that's kind of the holy grail with data, right? That, hey, can we do something before the customer quits, right? I mean, if they're upset and angry and they left and went to our competition, yeah, we can find out about that in the reports and still maybe take some action. But if we can have, and of course, not even customer. I mean, imagine this could be, I don't know, like a manufacturing company, and they could calculate risk score for each of their, I don't know, equipments or big machine or heavy machinery based on different factors, right? So if we generalize this approach, he's using different factors and kind of combining them into his using his own algorithm to spit out a risk score. And I would imagine, Nicholas, that you might have had to adjust it as you built it, right? I mean, I can't imagine this was like, oh yeah, this is how the risk score is going to work. Did it evolve over time? Did you adjust it over time? How did you get to this, the formula that you ended up with?
Yeah, of course, I had to play with it for some time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it can be further tweaked. So it's a never-ending learning and developing. But it works fine right now, and it gives you the results which you need to see. So that's really powerful.
Yeah. So so I'm just gonna look into, so you're saying priority. So for a specific customer, walk us through the logic a little bit. Like what kind of things is it looking at? Like number of cases they have open, how long they've had the cases open, and things like that.
Yeah, this is mainly focusing on the number of cases, but of course you can include customer satisfaction score. That's a good point. I could have that there, or maybe also the time how long the cases were open.
Wow.
That's it's easy to implement. So thanks for the idea, and guys on YouTube, please give me some feedback, give me some ideas. Of course, I would be happy to further work on this.
Yeah. I mean, best I can tell, people are loving it. Yeah. Amazing dashboard. Very exhaustive. Hey, Ansgar. Well, good to see you here, mate. Um, yeah, boy. Yeah, they definitely want to know more. I don't know if you'll dive into the structure of the dashboard. Maybe Nicholas can do a whole class just on that, how we built it. But we'll save that for the follow-up. For now, let's focus on the dashboard, kind of the UI design, given the theme of this call. So let's go back to the main dashboard, and we'll do our the best. We'll see if we can help you kick it up a notch. So let's go back to the customer satisfaction.
All right. Customer satisfaction?
Yeah. Okay. First one, yeah. This has been great, man. I mean, this is incredible. So, Nicholas, I think your challenge is certainly going to be that you have so much in there that it might be like, I hope when you present to clients, you don't, make sure you don't show them everything, because they'll be overwhelmed, right? I mean, just say, hey, show them like the key stories, and this can be a great, what you showed us here, that is phenomenal in itself, right? So you show them this high level, show them the risk score, and that should blow their mind away. And you can tell them that, hey, there's more, right? And then it's amazing. So folks, just kind of a side tip. So of course, we work in our program, the Pro Plus program, which Nicholas is a member of, where these guys are headed to either grow their business as Power BI consultants or become Power BI consultants. And one thing that we talk about is that, don't prove too much. If you're talking to a client or a prospective client, you got to be careful. I mean, sometimes people go way overboard, throw in the kitchen sink. They want to look smart and they want to look like they know everything. And it's not how it works. That's actually quite a poor approach to kind of approach a client, and again, it just overwhelms them. Instead, you want to give them a little bit, and then you want to focus on what they're saying and have a real conversation. All right, cool. So I have promised myself that I'm going to do a checklist of the things that I look at in a dashboard, but I haven't done that yet. But I think one of the typical things that I often start with is the squint test. And I got it from Charles, the amazing Charles Sterling. And well, I'm sure he got it from somewhere, I guess, but I learned from Charles. So squint test is simple. You just kind of squint your eyes so you can't see clearly, and then you just think about what is the first thing that jumps out at you. Now, of course, we've talked about dashboards, and size does matter, right? But the layout, the positioning also matters, and kind of top left is the most important, and generally we scan in this direction. But this one is easy. The first thing that I see in the squint test is certainly this big graph, the customer satisfaction average of each question. One, because of its positioning, so center. Both top left and center are important positions. And this one is almost in the center, right in her face. And this one is huge, right? This is the biggest element in the graph. And again, guys, generally in dashboard, there is no dashboard design. There is not necessarily right and wrong as to a choice, right? So again, I mean, is it dashboard by design or is it dashboard by accident, right? I mean, did we want to showcase this element and have this be the most important element? In this case, I would say it kind of makes sense, right? Yeah, I mean, this is showing some key numbers. So that's kind of step one, squint test. And of course, then I will fall back to what we teach in our course and I talk about all the time. I think I have a video on YouTube as well, which is the power pattern, right? And that's a great place to start. I still build my dashboards on that pattern often. And it's such a simple pattern, but so powerful. And it's a great place to evolve from. I often start there and then tweak from there. And the way the pattern works is that we generally present high-level numbers at the top, and then we show some breakdown and trends, and then we show a little bit of detail. So Nikolas, the only feedback I would have here is that, so again, generally people start scanning from the top left, right? And just the way we read, right? So we're going to look at the top left, and then we're going to go across and then down, across and then down, across and then down. In that case, the response rate, overall results, survey count, I mean, these are the high-level numbers, and they're important. Yeah, maybe they could be positioned better. I mean, if and I know, I mean, it's always a game of musical chairs, right? I mean, like, oh, if I move this there, then where do I put those elements? And hey, sometimes we have to make compromises. And again, if you choose to do that, it's all good, right? But again, is it dashboard by design or dashboard by accident, right? So I always say when I look at somebody's model and they're not following my best practices, like, why do you have a bidirectional relationship? And I ask them, and as long as you have an answer, I say, oh yeah, I have it because of this. Then it's good, right? So I'm not gonna get on your back or something, right? So the same way here. If you haven't considered, I would consider that moving the response rate, overall result, survey count, kind of up top, highlight them because that's important stuff. So that's maybe one slight tweak. I don't know. Yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Let's see. Yeah, Elizabeth is saying it's always a challenge to decide where to place the visual when you have a ton of stuff. And of course, Nikolas has used a lot of awesome tricks. So the ones on the left, actually, those are bookmarks, right? Those CSAT, I can look at that, and then you can click to like how do we compare? Show me some of the other information there.
These ones you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a slicer as well. Just
So how do we compare? Help me understand that. Compare against what?
Against the competition. Then how professional was the rep?
Show that to me again. How do we compare?
Yeah, this is a really good company, I must say.
But I don't understand. Where is the competition here? I was expecting two lines, like us and them.
Oh no. So you have to imagine that this is a customer satisfaction survey, and these are separate questions. That how do we compare to our competition? On a line 1 to 5, we are really bad or we are excellent. So that's how you should understand it. Professionalism. How professional was the agent on the line? Really bad 1 or extra professional 5, and the others between. So and so this customer compared to the competition, their customers love them. So basically, they are doing superb job.
Yeah.
And these are excellent
Yeah.
customer
Now
satisfaction results.
this might be, obviously, I mean, this is your subject matter of expertise, right? I mean, this is your business domain. But when I think compare, I think I think two things that I can see side by side, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but here I don't see that.
I would name it differently if it would be me,
Maybe.
but this is a real world example. So this is how they named the question, and
Yeah.
I just use the name so they can relate
Yeah.
in their word.
Okay, got it. So these are specific questions in the survey, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Of
okay.
course,
I think I'm getting it. So how professional are we, or how yeah, okay, got it.
I could not write the whole question there
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then
makes
I would
sense,
not.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. I think I'm getting it now.
Okay.
Cool. So then it makes sense. So it's CSAT is the average of each question, and then
Mhm.
we can go into specific questions. Um, so yeah, all of that is good. So I'm gonna keep my Stephen Few hat on, and of course, folks who have been on this show before, I mean, huge Stephen Few fan. He's the godfather of dashboard design as far as I'm concerned. So of course, another thing that he talks about is the pixel economy, which is well, you eliminate or minimize non-data pixels, and you highlight data pixels. And obviously, if you eliminate or minimize non-data pixels, it automatically happens. So I'm gonna call it out, and again, I get it, right? I mean, yeah, so I've seen it in other dashboards, and if you choose to do it, it's okay. But if you ran into Stephen Few, you better hide. No, just kidding. He might talk to you about it. So if I put my Stephen Few hat on, the and clearly, guys, I mean, this is a beautiful dashboard, and, and that's why we're, I don't know. I mean, it feels like nitpicking, but the shadow here for these elements, and I know it kind of makes it look pretty and kind of makes it look like it's floating and all that stuff, but as far as Stephen Few's principle of dashboard design, the shadow effect is non-data pixel. That is not data. So yeah, so in this case, what I generally say is that try it out, right? I mean, if you've been used to creating it with this shadow effect, try a dashboard, just copy that and see, well, how does it look like without the dashboard effect?
I
And
had one.
really? Yeah,
I
and again, I mean, and you can make a personal choice, right? And again, right, I mean, dashboard by design. So if at that point you say that, yep, I like this, and you can say, yeah, I understand, it's not by Steam View, but I like it, yeah. So this is definitely dashboard by design. You've tried it, and you do prefer this look.
Yeah.
Perfect, great,
It's not
great.
only me. It's an agile process with the customer. So
Yeah, although that part is a little tricky though, and I don't know. I guess everybody has to make up their own mind there because I feel like there is a balance between. So if you think about it, most of the customers that I walk into, they're not visualization experts. They have never heard of Stephen Few. They don't know anything about dashboard design, right? So, and sometimes they ask for ridiculous things, which so if they're asking for something that's truly ridiculous, then of course any consultant, Power BI consultant or Power BI professional worth their salt would have a conversation with them. Would say, well, I see what you're asking, but you know what? What about? And again, I mean, you have to navigate that a little bit. Like, how do you say it, right? I mean, obviously you're gonna say, oh, that's stupid, no, right? I mean, you say, hey, what about this? Look at this. This is more, and so for example, like sometimes if I get into a debate with a customer about pie chart, I don't say that, oh, no pie charts. I say that, hey, pie charts scientifically are not as effective in communicating. I mean, people don't judge it as well, blah, blah. So I will give them some detail and I'll say, this is why. It takes up a lot of space and doesn't communicate effectively. If you use something else, it might take less space and communicate far more effectively, far more precisely. It's going to be a balance, right? So I think you can't always go by what the customer is saying. Obviously, you're going to need to listen to them and respect that. But yeah, I think it's going to be like a choice. Have you found yourself in such a situation, Nikolas, where customer asked for something and you thought that wasn't the right thing, either visualization perspective or maybe some other aspect?
Of course, even if we take a look on this one, I'm not a fan of all these slicers on the right. You
Yeah.
can do the same with the filters, right? But they would
Yeah.
like to have them there because it makes it's
Exactly. Yeah.
easier for them to use it.
Yeah.
So I will not fight the customer. I can give my recommendations, and then we
Yeah.
work together.
Yeah.
The customer is the boss, right?
Well, yeah, well, yeah. That's the balance that I'm talking about, right? I mean, that. Yep. So, um, I mean, we gotta listen to them, but we also need to guide them because again, they're not the
Yeah,
expert. We are, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's on us. So
True.
yeah, it's always a bit of a balance. But I get their point too because I go back and forth between this as well. I mean, in a way, I do like slicers because they're in your face, they're on there, and they're there. Now, of course, some people do the funky trick where you can hide the whole slicer panel.
Hmm.
Well, that's up to them, but then it's effectively like filters. So yeah, I mean, I see the trade-offs and I see the pros of putting a slicer there. It's kind of right there and it's very discoverable. Versus filter pane, maybe collapsed, maybe expanded, who knows, and so forth. So yeah, but that makes sense. Uh, cool. I can't think of anything else. I think they're. Let me see. Um, yeah, man, really clean. Love it. And of course you have worked on this a while, like the small touches, simple stuff, like guys the reset button. That one is customers always love that because
Yeah.
they're always kind of asking me that, hey, uh, oh, oh gosh, what's going on with my mouse? So we're trying to fix this here.
Yeah,
Great.
because they are changing the filters and changing the slicers, and it's one button to get back to the initial state. So it's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
useful.
love it. Awesome. All right, thanks, Nicholas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Any
All right, folks.
feedback, I would be happy.
Yeah, I think there was quite a few, and people certainly wanted to know how you built it. We'll see, folks. I'll reach out to Nicholas, and we'll see. Maybe we'll do. We like doing sessions just for our Learn Power BI community. We've done that in the past. Members from Learn Power BI family have come on board and shared their work. So we might have Nicholas do that inside our Learn Power BI community. Maybe go deeper dive. I think the risk score is what people were mostly interested in. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get Nicholas for that. Okay, let's go to our next dashboard. And yeah, there we go. All right. Mm-mm-mm. All right, so I think Lieuw-Sjong, I noted you. I know you're on. Folks, if you are present on YouTube and you submitted it, then just let us know. And Robert, I might check in with you to round up. It's like, hey, who of all these people is here, and if anybody else who did submit. I don't know if I have all the names. So let's continue with our students. Wow, we have quite a few today. Matthias, a repeat visitor. What do you got for us today?
Yes, so repeat visitors, correct?
Yeah.
So before the summer break, I vowed to show up on each dashboard makeover, and I made it. Yes.
Wow,
Each.
that's a lofty goal. I mean, I usually
Yep.
tell people that show up for one. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's my third one,
Mm-hmm.
and I have. I wanted to create a one-pager showing status and trends of this time in actual
Yeah. Well.
actual
Yeah.
data. So before I had to practice data sets, and this time it's actual data. Okay.
That is super exciting. So go ahead and share your screen.
Yep.
And so and I'm gonna say, so BL is here. Bjorn is here. Where? Oh God, I don't have the name. Hold on. Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, we'll make sure we'll get to you. Matthias, go ahead and you are sharing your screen. By the way,
Yes.
guys, I love one pagers. And by the way, again, we were talking about how do you approach clients. And again, when I say clients, it could be internal or external. You know, people are people. They're not right. I mean, they don't grow horns if they're external clients or internal clients, right? So when I was talking about when I'm talking with somebody new, prospective client, and again, could be an internal, could be inside your company, be careful not to overwhelm them. It's tempting, and somehow it's the default mode. And frankly, I don't understand why people do it, right? I mean, they would have this 20-page dashboard with a whole lot of bookmarks, and that's great. I mean, that is a real dashboard. If you built that, that's being used, that's great. I love that. But when you go to somebody new, a prospective client, don't prove too much, right? Don't do so. I love one pagers, and it's more about understanding who your audience is, what are their biggest problems, and just focusing on that. So often I recommend just that if you showcase a dashboard on your website, it should be a one pager. That would be my recommendation. And again, right? I mean, you can follow it or you can not follow it, as long as it's by design, not by accident, right? So I just wanted to make it. If you don't follow it, you're like, oh, this is the reason I don't have it. Cool. So I love one pagers. So give us real data. That's awesome. So folks, hey, what do I say? If you want to be really good at Power BI, you got to get real practice. That means real data and a real client. So yeah, we love real data. So yeah, give us some context about this as much as you can.
Okay, so I love one pages as well, and this is the third time I come up here with a one pager. So, and speaking of real client, I'm the client now. It's for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm a good client because it's easy to communicate with myself. I know what I want. And a little bit, but the problem is I'm a little bit pedantic perhaps and asking too much. That's the only thing here on the minus side.
All right. Yeah.
But the rest, I'm a good client.
That's great. That's good.
Well, I'm working in planning and in reporting, and I do this for many years. And one of the tools I have to look after is our strategic planning tool. And I do this for years now already, and there's one KPI where we look how the maintenance of projects are, and this is done relatively regularly. And until now, there was no visualization of the status and how it was developing.
Really? What is the system where the project data is being maintained? Just curious.
Well, the data itself is an SAP.
All right.
So, yeah, don't want to go into the details of it, but it's an SAP data, and then I work with the downloads.
Yeah. Great. So maybe we will. So this is interesting, guys. I think this is the first time that we're doing it this way, at least. Like, if you notice, what we did with Nikolas was that I hesitated in diving into the dashboard, right? I wanted to hear the story. And Matthias, with this too, tell me a story, mate. Tell me, so project management, so Nikolas talked about, like I asked, hey, what are the top 3 things that they worry about? And he said it's customer satisfaction, customer satisfaction, customer satisfaction. But what about for your world, this world of planning, project management?
It's not project management, it's project maintenance. So we do have projects in the strategic planning, and sales managers have to maintain them in regular intervals, or at least. So this one here it's about the sourcing decision date. And I noticed a mistake here on this one, but
don't worry, I don't think we'll pick it up.
No, anyway, it's yeah.
So yeah, what is the problem that they're struggling with, and how does this solve that
so
problem?
You plan what you will sell to the customers in the future. And you don't know when the customer is deciding it. You don't know it precisely. And you definitely don't know whether you're winning or losing the business. That's
got it.
Because it's always difficult to look into the future. That's a normal thing in planning. Yep.
Yeah.
And so when you have started your planning, you probably have done this in January, just as an example, and you thought, okay, we will have the quote phase, and then let's say December, the customer will decide.
Yeah.
When it's coming to December, you should revisit your project and say, hey, yep, I lost it, I won it. Oh no, the customer has shifted it to February or March.
All right.
And if you don't do this, your data is outdated, or you will still have the hope to get a project, although it's already lost.
Wow. So I'm seeing here Mr. 58 overdue, but just to understand your world a little bit better, how many projects are kind of on the table in a given year or active at a certain time? I just want to get a sense, like how much activity is going on.
Okay, so I like this from the visual point of view very much here. What you see here, but what I'm like more is it's about I have about, let's say, 200 files with 2 to 3 million lines of data in 2 years, more or less.
Yeah, but how many projects are there running in your organization at any given time? Like this one is showing overdue.
It's a subset.
58 out of 100, 58 out of 2,000. I'm trying to get a sense of the scale of things here.
Well, you could do the math by yourself right now for 6% and 58 projects. You know how many.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Yep.
6% of total projects are overdue. That's great. Yeah. That's great, man. That's so a good report when when somebody asks a question, and you can point to like the second thing on the dashboard and say, "Yep, that's how you do it." So, great. That's brilliant, man. Oh, that's beautiful. Great, awesome. So, so let me see if I can say it back to you. So projects is it seems like and maybe I'll butcher it a little bit, but these are potential projects with clients which we hope to land on a certain date. And so that's what we project out. So we probably write it down somewhere in the system that, yep, December, we're going to land this with that client, that with this client, and so forth. And everything is kind of cataloged. But then, of course, so this is kind of maybe the forecast in a way. And then, of course, the actuals come in, which is like, yep, this project was, we did land it, this one was delayed, and so forth. So this one kind of, this one pager shows you, well, which are the ones that we didn't hit on target, right? Which are overdue, which we were expecting by the state, but haven't happened.
Where the maintenance is overdue. Yes, where the maintenance is overdue, and the percentage is only looking for the open projects. So if it's awarded, it's not considered here.
Yeah, great. So yeah, very focused report.
Yes.
Cool. Now, of course, my curious side is that can you roughly tell me like what are the stages that the project goes through? It seems like obviously open is one, but yeah, I mean, is it just a handful? What are the stages that a project goes through?
Yes, actually, it's either you expect it or it's potential. Then it's a lesser percentage of hope to get it. Yeah. But really relevant for our planning is whether it's expected or not. And then, of course, you can lose it, you can win it, or you can exit. The customer can exit the project.
Yeah.
So it's not that there are not that many
Yeah, that's great. So potential projects, expected that it's, should happen. You can
So
win,
these
lose,
two,
or customer
so I'm
exits.
looking here only for the potential and expected projects which are not maintained in time.
And that's what you meant when you said open, right? So the potential and expected together, that's what
These are
would
the
be
open
open
ones,
projects?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, great. And I would imagine you would have an overall dashboard which kind of shows the flow. I don't know, a funnel or something like that, which shows the flow of the system and so forth. Yeah.
Well, there are separate reporting pages either on PowerPoint or Excel or dashboard in Power BI, yes, but this is standalone. This is definitely standalone. I don't want to mix it. I first thought about doing year-on-year comparisons about the sales impact as well. And so actually in the Power BI right now, there's too much data, but then I found I should concentrate on overdue and how long is it overdue, because that's the topic here.
Yeah. This is great. All right, so hey, I'm going to put my Stephen Few hat on, but first of all, I'll say, man, this is a beautiful dashboard. So folks, if you've seen past dashboard makeovers, again, Matthias is definitely a repeat visitor. He has been here a few times, and right from the first day, his dashboards were, I was blown away because they are beautiful, and they follow, design principles really well constructed dashboard. And again, guys, the idea is to have your data shine, not have kind of the bells and whistles and make it look like a weird thing or something, right? So yeah, those days are gone. Maybe those dashboards, they were never effective. Maybe they were popular at some time, but if you think about even the way the web has evolved, thankfully it's gotten to a more simplistic, right? Design. And think about most of the sites you go to, modern sites, they're pretty simplified. Not the banners and all that stuff, right? So yeah, no, we have changed, and this works better too. So let's start with the squint test. So squint test, this one is easy. The main elements here, the top numbers, they shine really bright because of two reasons. One is that they're in the top left. That's one of the most important locations on the dashboard, right? All locations, all pixels are not created equal. This one is really important. So because of its positioning, and of course with the color background, right? So that really makes it pop. And again, I think that's definitely by design in Matthias' case, and that works well, right? That's highlighting the key numbers. So that's the squint test. And then of course, if we compare it to the power pattern, high level numbers up top. We have breakdowns here by sub-segment, by sales manager region, and we have trends over here and a little bit of detail, right? So this kind of follows the power pattern to the T. And again, guys, I know I moved to Power BI from Excel and maybe had this challenge to begin with. I see some other folks who transition from Excel to Power BI have this challenge, which is their dashboards don't really look like dashboards. They just look like a bunch of Excel tables thrown together. Hey, Power Pattern is a great way to start. And take a deep breath. And I know you're going to feel like, I need a table here, table there. But just start doing it this way. And again, it looks so beautiful. So Power BI is a different tool. I've worked with clients where they would show me their Excel report and they would say, hey, I want you to recreate this in Power BI. And I would say no. I'll say, what's the point? If right? I've said no to clients. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense, right? Power BI is a different tool. It doesn't make any sense to just recreate your Power Excel report. So use the power pattern, high-level numbers up top, a little bit of breakdown and trends, and just a little bit of detail goes a long way. So all of that is good. And I'm not sure if I have any, constructive feedback for you, Matthias. This looks beautiful.
It is.
Yeah. Just curious, what is that BUX at the top?
That's
far right?
the names included here are not real, so you can.
Yeah.
So
but that's
there would be
the name
business
of
unit.
Business unit. Okay. Got it. Okay, so
that's the complete business unit, and below then the segment names, well,
yeah,
and region,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
not real. Okay.
yeah. So I forget what this technique is called. I think it's called small multiples, and folks maybe on YouTube or here in the chat can correct me, but I think Stephen Few calls it
Yes.
small multiples. And the idea here, the key thing about small multiples is a shared axis. And it's a thing of beauty. So you notice here that there are three graphs, right? But, maybe let's try three graphs, but only one axis. And that is beautiful, right? So again, think about what is the goal. The goal is to minimize the non-data pixels or eliminate them, and that automatically highlights the data pixels, right? So of course, axis, it's not like data. I mean, this is the cool stuff. This is the good stuff. So yeah, so we don't need the axis to be repeated multiple times. Axis lines and that sort of stuff. Gosh, old Excel used to be pretty bad. I mean, it would have these grid lines and all that stuff. And again, following Stephen Few, you would remove all of it. Power BI generally has a cleaner look, but Matthias has certainly done a good job.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
In Excel, you don't have to do it with the axis on. You can do the same in Excel. Okay.
What I was saying was, in Excel, in the old Excel, you would put a chart on, and it would have
Yeah.
a lot of these extra elements, like thick axis lines and thick,
Yeah,
well,
but
not
if
thick,
you
but grid
know what to
lines.
do, you take them out.
Yeah, but you had to do it every
Yeah.
single time. Power BI, I think, starts off with a cleaner look than old Excel. Frankly, I don't even know how Excel is these days. Haven't built a graph in Excel in a while. But yeah, I remember. I mean, I would build a chart and then methodically just remove the axis or
Yes.
make it minimize it, right? I mean, make it thinner, make it light gray instead of black, and so forth. But yeah, your look here is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should have something to contribute, but this is great, and this is phenomenal. Matthias, I feel like boy, you're hitting it out of the park, man. This is really good. Thanks for sharing.
That's all.
Right.
Okay. Look, there was never ever this kind of overview, and the reason why this is, I created it because it's. I have a colleague who's working for me for some years already, and I want him to be promoted to a higher pay group.
Yeah.
And you don't get this like this. So he needed more exposure. That's what HR was asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that is here for him, that he can use it as a tool for following up and showing where the weak points are, who has to do his job. And yes, it was successful. He will start in January on doing this, and he can use this tool, and he has, he's in the higher pay
That's
group.
Great.
Yeah,
wow.
It's really a success. And
that is amazing.
The thing which I was shocked today about, okay, show you today's status. I didn't really use until now this, only a portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 week, this effect, clean, it's down, it's
wow,
it's effective.
Yeah, so that's such a great story, because that's what I've seen with Power BI. It's like shining a torchlight at something. And you know what they say, right? I mean, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it, and that's how a lot of functions in even mature businesses. Hey, I've been in all of them. I've been inside Microsoft, and a lot of their functions, you could walk into a place where it's like, man, this is a house of cards, right? Where people are just flying by the seat of the pants, not really forget about database decision making, right? So you bring in Power BI, and it becomes that torchlight, that flashlight. And it just shines on what's going on. And often for the first time, people see what's going on and go, whoa, right? And again, this is where you can run into resistance as well. People sometimes feel afraid. They're like, oh my God, I mean, I don't want others to know that things are not going well or whatever. But, if you get past that and have everybody kind of working together, then, then just by turning on the light, it would. So actually, there was a research done. It was, I don't remember where it was, I read it, but they did an experiment in a factory floor. This was some time ago. This was, I don't know, 1930s, some really kind of an old study. And they went in there and they increased the lighting. They made it brighter. And they saw that the productivity went up. And so they played with it like, oh, let's make it even brighter. And the productivity went up. And then said, okay, fine, let's try dimming the lights. And they dimmed the lights and the productivity went up. And they were baffled. But of course, what was going on was that the people on the factory floor were aware that they were being measured and monitored. And that's what was driving up the productivity, right? I was like, oh shit, somebody's watching us, right? So right, I mean, maybe kind of a bizarre example, but yeah, just by starting to measure things and showcasing it, I was like, guys, this is what's going on. I mean, this is tremendous, right? I mean, what a great story that, that it just drove the numbers in a good direction just by presenting it. Thanks for sharing that story.
Well, thanks.
All right, so folks, we got two. So I know Samuel is on the call. Samuel? Hopefully. Man, it must be late for you over there. So thanks for sending in if you did. But usually it works easiest if you can just share your screen and talk about it. Let me see. I can find what you sent in. Okay. All right, guys, let's do this. Section of the rights. That one is okay. I think Samuel dropped off, but we'll still kind of cover it, and we'll see. All right, great. So Samuel is one of our 100,000 feet scholarship members, and he's amazing. And this one is sexual and reproductive health and rights. Now, I'm not sure. So I wish we could have covered it earlier when he was still on the call. Then we would have gotten a bit more of his story. I would have loved to hear the story behind it, like who is his client, what is their goal, and so forth. Minus that, let's just look at it from just the Stephen Few lenses, kind of the dashboard design lens. So let's start with the same thing, kind of the squint test. And this one is a little hard. If I squint my eyes, what do I see? I'm a little bit lost. So again, right, I mean, dashboard by design, not dashboard by accident. So you do want to highlight something in the dashboard, right? I mean, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority, right? So if everything is kind of about the same or everything is kind of pulling at your attention, then you don't have like a star shining through. I feel like the star in this one should be this one. So we'll have to do something to kind of make it pop out. That's not popping out in the squint test. So that's one. Let's look at it from the power pattern perspective. And so we do have high level numbers. We do have kind of a breakdown. And maybe this one is also a breakdown. Yep, this is, right? So we have breakdown. And again, I mean, you have to kind of decide how much elements you place on there. And maybe this is enough. Maybe this is all he wanted to place on this dashboard. But I feel like I would recommend kind of trying it out. Like, is it possible to put a trend on there? Because it becomes incredibly powerful, right? So where you can see not just kind of the numbers here, but you can see the trend. And I don't even know. Maybe, oh Samuel, you're back on. If you see if you can unmute yourself, would love to hear from you, if possible. Okay, all right. So if Samuel comes on, that'll be awesome. Well, we keep going. So again, we're looking at the power pattern perspective and trends. So what I don't know if I said it, but sometimes you don't have trend data. And obviously, if you don't have trend data, like, no, this is just as of now, that's it. Well, for one, that really is going to, kind of hold you back, right? So generally, any data set that I'm looking at, except in very edge cases. Hey, Samuel.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, shoot, he dropped off again. Maybe having some connection issues. So yeah, I really try the best that I can to get access to trend data. I mean, sometimes I walk and work with a client, it's like, we just have the latest thing. And I'm like, is it any way that we can get like the past month, past year, whatever? So trends can be powerful because, for one, they're insightful. You can see the trend. And another reason why they're powerful is because of the cross-filtering. So you can cross-filter on just this, click on this, and then the trend will change, of course, to show you the trend for that selection, right? So cross-filtering, and of course, if you're seeing something in the trend, then you can, kind of click on like high point or low point and say, I want to understand that. I want to understand what happened in June or something like that, right? So that can be useful. And of course, if it makes sense, the detail is frankly the least important. That one is completely optional. If it makes sense to put detail, if you have space, it makes sense, then it's there. And yeah, that I often place it kind of last in the visual sense of layout, right? So again, the way we're laying out elements is in this manner. Start at the top, and then like that. So that's how typically people scan the dashboard, because that's how we read, at least in most languages. So cool. So we did the squint test. We looked at the power pattern. Now let's put on the Stephen Few hat. Maybe I should write that down. Maybe that is my checklist. I'll have to go back through my notes. Maybe I've done the checklist 3 times. So I'll say the dashboard checklist so far has been squint test, and then the power pattern, and then we do Stephen Few principles. So if you put the Stephen Few hat, I would say we definitely have room for improvement, right? So again, non-data pixels, anything that is not data is not the star of the show. Data is the star of the show, and we want to highlight that. So here, the first thing that I would say probably needs to go is the background, because the background is really bold. And frankly, if it was like a flat color, if it was all blue, we could work with it, although blue is still not quite sitting well with everything here. But it has these elements as well, like these lines and going forth, which is, again, right, I mean, competing with the star of the show. Right? So imagine you're casting for a movie and you've paid big money to Tom Cruise or somebody, some big star, Matt Damon, and man, you want them to be the star. So we don't want to take that away from our stars. Our star is the data. So that's the first thing that I would try removing. And again, eliminating is best, but if you can't eliminate or choose not to eliminate, then see if you can minimize it. So if you can't eliminate it, so best is to have either a white or a slightly off-white background. In fact, Stephen Few says that sometimes off-white can work better than white, because white is a little bit too bright. So a white or off-white, that is eliminating the background. But if you don't want that or can't do that due to whatever reason, then you would minimize it. So I would say, well, can I have like a really light shade of blue if blue is supposed to be a theme or something like that, right? Can I don't know, can I just have, so sometimes what I do is I just have the background behind their name or the title, right? So I would just have the background there and everything else would be white, right? The white background or off-white, right? So yeah, can you eliminate it or minimize it? If you can't eliminate it, then find all the ways you can have the minimum impact possible, the least amount of non-data pixels. So that'll be the first one. And then there are quite a few victims here. These lines. And again, right, I mean, put the strict hat on, Stephen Few hat on, and maybe you do it in 2 rounds. Because you know how the rules about brainstorming, when you're brainstorming ideas, you cannot be judging them. That's a horrible way to brainstorm, right? So when you're brainstorming, just go crazy and just write it down, not judging it. Like what are the ways that, like, I don't know, whatever, what should be my focus or niche in my Power BI professional or Power BI consulting career? Just list everything then down that comes to mind. Don't judge it, and then go back and try to make a choice, right? So maybe initially, because if you start looking at each element and you start judging it, you'll be like, oh, should I remove it? Should I not? It'll just take too long, right? So maybe we'll do that. So there's the background. That's non-data. This is kind of non-data for the most part. I'm not really sure about this. The lines here are not data. All of these lines. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, so yeah, that's good then. So yeah, so again, and the goal would be to either eliminate it if we can, or minimize it. And I always say just try it, right? Just see how it looks without the lines, and make a decision there, right? Cool. What else can we look at? So if we look at the power pattern, the elements were there, but the layout, maybe it is okay. Yeah, high level numbers are certainly at the top. The slicers are here, but yeah, that's fair. And again, guys, I mean, as long as you're creating a dashboard by design, as long as it's intentional, right, it's not accidental, it's good, right? I mean, I'm not complaining. But of course, generally, I try my best to see if I can, kind of put the slicers in the least important, visually the least important region of the dashboards. But if you're going to place it here, that's fine too, right? As long as it's by choice. Cool. So Samuel's back on. Samuel, looked like you have some connectivity issues. Maybe try unmuting. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I had some connection issues.
So hey, first thing that we wanted to hear was give us some background. Like, is this for a real client? We would love to hear a little bit more from you about that. What's the story behind this dashboard?
Okay. This is a survey. It's not really for a client. It's a personal project. Let's put it that way. A personal project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is this so? Was this data set kind of publicly available somewhere?
Yes, it's publicly available. In fact, it's a real data set actually. Real data sets from survey. The survey was made in some selected, I think, all the countries.
Yeah.
So pregnant women. So basically, they want to know the people that have access to contraceptives and the methods, either modern methods or the traditional methods. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's a way of it's part of the Operation Fistula. So Operation Fistula has been in existence for a while now, just to improve gender equality, among people, and just to mainly focusing on the female folks, right? Yeah, that is the way. Yeah. So the report is, the aim is to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health and rights, and also to educate people, especially Africans, in suburban ghetto areas on the need for modern contraceptive methods.
Yeah.
Because from the report you could see that there are a whole lot of people. I sent a link to the for the interactive report. So from the interactive report, you could see that especially in Africa, there are a lot of people that doesn't want to get pregnant, but they're not using the right contraceptives. So and
Yeah, they
it's
may
just a
may or
form
may
of
not have access to it.
exposure.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that's certainly definitely a worthy area. I mean, my um, I was reading the Melinda Gates book, and I know she speaks quite strongly about this, that how kind of empowering the woman it can unlock, um, can have this ripple effect, can affect a whole family, a whole community. So this is great. Yep, I was able to open your interactive report. Great. Yeah, this looks great. All right. So let's see. So we already covered a few of the elements. Let's look at the second page. And in this one, the only feedback that I would have is I would probably swap this element here. So generally, we want to go visually from high level, which is less detail, right? I mean, high level has less detail, to more detail. And again, what is the path? What is the flow, visual flow? Well, it's the same way we read. So generally, it's scanned in this way, right? So usually we start with kind of high level stuff over the top or here, and then detail here. So if we look at this one, the map is kind of a high level view, right? It just gives us at a glance how things are going on. So I'll move that here. Yeah. So and maps, I'll say that I'm maps sometimes work, sometimes they don't. I try to be kind of careful with them, because for this one I think it's a little bit challenging right now. Like the map, I'm not sure what story it is telling. So let me stay here for a bit. Average of percentage distribution of women. So average of percentage distribution of women. So this is just showing. Yeah, I think there is something off about this graph. So help me understand this data. So we're going to dive in, guys, a little bit. So again, I mean, so far I was just looking at from the dashboard perspective, like visualization perspective. So if here it says Mauritania is 11.69, can that really be true? Like, I don't understand what that means. So in the age group 15 to 49, only 12% are women? Or am I reading it wrong? Oh, shoot. Oh, God. Samuel dropped off again. I think he's definitely having connectivity issues. So, guys, there is something here. So I think, that would be my last piece of feedback maybe. So, again, if the map stays, then I would move the map here. And because map is higher level and this table is more detailed. And again, if you think about it, map, and again, the map I'm having trouble with because I don't understand like what story is not popping out. Right? So that is high level. Often, if there is a story, then you can get at a glance. But the table, it doesn't work that way. I mean, the way the table works is that we scan row by row, and of course, conditional formatting can maybe do a little bit and have things pop out. But yeah, table generally is more detailed, so I would move that there. And the map isn't telling a story. So Samuel, unfortunately, is having some connection issues, but otherwise, that's what I would have. I would recommend Samuel to dive into. It's like, well, what is the story we want to tell? And is the graphic telling that story? And again, dashboard by design, right? Not by accident. So in here, if I look at this graph, look at this map, the thing that I'm seeing is the cluster of circles here. Is that the story? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Like, is that the story Samuel is trying to tell? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Even if it is, I'm not sure if it's being told effectively. And again, right, I mean, if you want to focus on kind of this cluster, like things are clustered here, maybe changing it to a heat map, right? I mean, I'm imagining like this stuff would kind of glow up in red, while others would be a lighter color, and only this region may be red, right? If we do a heat map, possibly, then it kind of highlights that these are the I don't know, hotspots or something like that. So again, right? So there's a little bit of there. All right, great. So Samuel, good work. Certainly a really interesting subject area. Kudos to you for kind of diving into that, taking a look. Hopefully, from the visualization perspective, some of the feedback we gave made sense. And again, what we did was squint test, power pattern, Stephen Few principles. And then I'm not really sure what we did after that. Like, what's the story? That should have actually come at the beginning. All right, cool. So let's take one from YouTube. So Lieuw-Sjong. And if I can find the files that I saved. Oh, wow. Mark, thanks for telling me about the study. Okay, great. So let's go. Oh, I don't have found you. Election result. Oh boy. Okay, so this will be a bit of a challenge. Election results dashboard. And this one is... Alrighty. Okay, so I think it's Ron, if I have the name right. Ron Liu. So this is elections in Curaçao, Dutch Caribbean. We vote here on color. That's how people recognize their favorite party. And that's the reason for the colorful dashboard. That's interesting. All right, so let's see. Where do we start? So, yeah, let's start kind of the same way. So, squint test. Oh boy, this one is trouble. Because, yeah, when I squint, it's not clear what is the most important element. And again, if everything is kind of competing for priority, then there's no priority. And I think there should be a priority, right? I mean, you do have stars. So think about it like casting in a movie. You want to have, kind of, I don't know, the male lead and the female lead and the supporting cast, right? So it should be like that, and it should flow like that, right? So, and that's why power pattern is so simple but so effective, because we put the stars right up top, the high level numbers, and then, kind of the supporting cast shows up, right? And then maybe the spot boys and stuff, right? So the details, right? So yeah, so squint test, I would say, think about what's the most important. And ironically, I feel like the most important numbers are here, but they're not popping out. Why? Because of the positioning. For one, again, right? I mean, the way we scan is we scan this way, and it's kind of buried in there. I mean, it's not at the top, it's not at the left. And it's this gray background is yeah, it's just this. If this is indeed what needs to be highlighted, we would need to try a few different things, right? So yeah, so that's the squint test, and the next one was, if I can remember, the power pattern. So let's look at that. So does it have all the power pattern elements? Well, it has the high-level numbers. It has the breakdowns. Great. and it has details. It doesn't have trend. Again, right? I mean, maybe this data set didn't have trend, or actually, I think it did, because I see the year here. Wow, what happened between 2012 and 16? No elections. I don't know. So it's going to be a choice, right? So usually trend can be powerful, but it's not always going to make sense. Like, obviously, if you're trying to show the election results for 2012, well, what trend can you show? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can show like a comparison to last year. That could be interesting. But now that wouldn't be a trend specifically, but again, you get the idea. The idea of the trend is to not just show you what is as of right now in a snapshot, but give you a little bit of context, right? So if, let's say, the percentage of carbon in the atmosphere is 2.3%. Well, right, but is that good or bad? How has that changed over time? And if you say, oh, last year it was 1.75%, well, now you know the carbon levels are rising, right? Something like that, right? So again, that's the whole idea. So maybe you don't, if you're showing 2012 results, you can't quite show a graph of last year's. That would be kind of weird. Maybe you could, but you could show a comparison. You could say that, yeah, this party had this much last time or had these many votes. So that could enhance this. So while it has generally the power pattern elements, I will say that the detail is kind of dominant here. And again, that may be the nature of the dashboard. So guys, again, there's no right or wrong as long as it's dashboard by design, as long as you thought it out. You say, well, yeah, I know I'm supposed to have trends, breakdown, and all that sort of stuff, and detail, just a little bit of detail. But in this case, we need it because XYZ, whatever the explanation is, right? So let me try to understand. Maybe that would help. So for now, I was just looking at the visuals. So mid panel, it's showing the 21 candidates who were elected. Great. And and this is the top 15 candidates by vote. Yeah, this is interesting. And again, I'm always wary about maps. Maps are one of the graphical elements which are one of the most abused, right? And people use maps when they have no business using maps for showing that, right? I mean, it just overused and abused. But in this case, I think map could have been interesting if this is by kind of region or something, and the region's lit up in color. Of course, if you've seen, of course, we just went through the U.S. elections, and a lot of that reporting did use maps. So for election results, maps can be powerful. So this could have been a good fit here, and that would also help us kind of minimize the detail. And again, it's a bit of a choice. Like, obviously, if you add more elements, maybe you would have to compress this smaller. Maybe this would end up with a scroll bar. And again, those are just choices, right? So as long as the choices are conscious, you're going to say that, yep, I do want to add a map, and I'm okay with the scroll bar here. There is a trade-off, right? So that's from the power pattern perspective. What is the next one? Stephen Few. So Stephen Few had on. So let's look at what are the non-data pixels. And guys, you can be the non-data pixel detective with me too. So again, in your mind, maybe as soon as I brought it up, you were starting things, right? So that's the mode you want to get into, where you're doing these things automatically. You're automatically thinking about, oh, that's a non-data pixel. I need to eliminate or minimize it. So this gray background is a non-data pixel. This shadow to this element, and other elements too, the shadow is a non-data pixel. So again, I think we should experiment with turning it off. And again, guys, right, I mean, the world has moved to a cleaner look, and I'm glad, because I think it looks better and it is more effective, right? So yeah, plain white background, nothing wrong with that. And you can use, so again, if you can't eliminate it, if you don't want to eliminate it, then can you minimize it, right? So do we really, so right now, if you think about it, the dashboard is pretty much gray, right, with these white strips delineating these elements, right? So again, what I would say is, like, eliminate all background. Just go to plain white. See if it works. And then if it doesn't work, then bring back elements as subtle as possible, right? So if you make it all white and you say it's not working, then what is not working? You say, well, I really want this top section to stand out. Well, for that, you don't have to give it a background. You could, but that would be using up a lot of non-data pixels. Maybe if you want to kind of separate that, all you need is a really thin gray line, light gray line, right? And again, play with it, try it, right? If a light gray line, put it up there, see, oh, it works, great. If it doesn't work, then say, oh, do I need to thicken the line? Do I need to darken it a little bit? Da-da-da. And then if it really doesn't work, then you bring in the background. But now you're using coloring in a lot of data pixel. So imagine, I always say that imagine you had to pay for each dashboard you built, right? And the how much you pay for a pixel could vary from $1 to $1,000. And so white space, right, kind of this light stuff is $1. That's cheap. But if you're using a highly saturated pixel and saturated colors, you have to pay more for that. So if you color this background, man, you have to pay for all of these pixels. That's an expensive dashboard, right? So yeah, if you think about it that way, it's like, imagine you have a limited amount of money. How are you going to spend? You don't want to spend it on the non-data pixel because you want to spend it on the data pixels, right? All right, so cool. So that's from the Stephen Few hat. By the way, I do like the positioning of the slicer. So again, slicers are non-data pixels as well. So generally they should be in a less obvious position, which is generally, you know, kind of here. Ideally, I mean, bottom is the least one, but bottom doesn't quite work well. I usually try to put it here. Yeah, bottom doesn't work well because slicers are also, in a way, navigational elements, and dashboards are not websites. But now the world has, you know, I mean, we look at dashboards now mostly on web pages and so forth. So the world has merged a little bit. So if you think about website navigation, it's often found kind of, you know, it is often found kind of in the corners here. So that's acceptable. It's often found in the top, and hence the temptation to put slicers there, even though I would recommend don't do that because they're not the star of the show. Dashboard has a different purpose. Dashboard is not a website. But because of this overlap between dashboard and navigation elements, bottom becomes a poor choice because people are just not used to navigating using elements at the bottom generally, right? All right, cool. So this is awesome. Yeah, there's some other pages too, but we're gonna keep this one short. Hopefully, Ron, you can use the same guidelines to evaluate the other pages as well. All right, cool. So if let's do the last one. BL's dashboard. Let's see if we can find it. So this one is service analysis. Ooh, interesting. All right, so service analysis dashboard. And hey, now I do have a working checklist, so I know what to go through. First thing I'm going to go through is the squint test. So if I squint, you know, it's odd. I expected that this thing is going to be in my face right away, but it kind of is and it isn't. Yeah, we'll come back to that. So yeah, this one, but by a thin margin. I think this one is popping out for me. So that's the squint test. Then let's do the power pattern test, which is, it does have high level numbers, it does have breakouts here, it does have trends, and it does have detail. So that's good. Check on the power pattern. What about the layout? Well, the high level numbers are up top. That is all good. Somehow I prefer putting trends before. Oh, sorry, the breakdowns before trends. Yeah, I just prefer that, but again, that could be a personal choice. So this is good. The layout of the elements is really good. So again, details should come at the end. And what do I mean by end? Well, the end of the visual scanning, right? And again, the way we scan is this way, right? So usually I put details either here or here is a great way, and PL has nailed it, right? So that is good. What is the other one? So I think I do want to revisit some of this, but let's put on the Stephen Few hat. So non-data pixels. So again, so again, we said that do it in two phases. Like first, identify all the non-data pixels, and then you can judge each one by its merit. Do I keep it? Do I not? Can I try something else? So if you just look at non-data pixels, it's definitely the background of this, the background of this, the dotted grid lines here. The banded these tables, right? So all of this, and yeah, I guess that's about it. So, and again, for each element, you can see that can we eliminate it or can we minimize it, right? So you know, the background is a pretty light color, so I would assume that it is by design, right? So it's, you know, so PL kind of experimented, checked it, and maybe it matches their company theme or something, and it is a light shade, so I'll be okay. This background here, though, I do have some reservations about it, because to me it looks like kind of rose pink, which is a shade of red, and in a lot of cultures, red usually has negative connotations. It's right, so it's a shade of red, and I don't think it's intentional. Like, I don't think maybe like if it's red because it's the variance is negative, well, yeah, it's not, doesn't feel spot on. So I would consider a different shade, and usually if you can restrict yourself to fewer colors, that's better. So if you are using this purple or lavender color, maybe not the same color, but a lighter, much lighter shade of that can be used here instead of the rose thing. So that's what I would say. And again, I mean, right? I mean, you think about this stuff, and we don't think about it. But again, if you put on the visualization hat, we should think about it. And how you choose, what the decision you make, that's totally up to you, right? So as far as Stephen Few is concerned, these are non-data pixels, and we should look to eliminate or minimize it. And I would just try eliminating it. I mean, you have the labels here anyway. Are the axis lines really adding much? Often they don't. And heck, even this axis, do you need it? And just try it. Just eliminate it. And it's like, well, I mean, you know, do we still have it? And again, you can touch it. You can try it. And if it doesn't really, like, no, I don't like it. I hate it. Bring it back, right? And then you're creating a dashboard by design, not by accident, right? Otherwise, you just throw an element on there and it shows the default view, and you're good to go. So this one, and again, I mean, it is a very subtle one, so it's quite possible that it is by design by PL. So all of that looks good. This one feels a little bit heavy. For one, again, when you go with a non-white background, sometimes these elements become challenging because our background is not white, it's colored. Now the white is kind of standing out as well. So I think it's a little too much. I think this is like the detail. It shouldn't be fighting for attention, and I feel like right now it is, because again, the white is shining bright against this background, and of course then we have the color as well. So I would look to kind of minimize it. Maybe the white can actually be the same as the background color, which would make it not pop as much. Right now it's like too bright. So that's the another thing that I would look at. By the way, these guys are non-data elements too. And, you know, I wouldn't say eliminate it, but I think these can be minimized. They all seem bold. And again, just try it, right? I mean, just change all of them to not bold, right? So again, you're using less ink. Imagine if you're printing on a printed paper, what would use less ink, right? So if you made it regular. And so yeah, just play with it, see how that works. So I think that would kind of maybe help it kick it up a notch as well. What was I going to say? yeah, I mean, otherwise, I certainly see some masterful touches. By the way, this one is a ninja trick. Only very smart people do this. No, I'm just kidding. Well, anybody who knows this trick does it. But the way I ran into this was that I was generating these reports, and they were supposed to be refreshed every day. And the day they weren't, people would complain. And they would say, Avi, the report is not refreshed, the report is not up to date. And often I would investigate, and I would find that the source data wasn't up to date. And that was not in my control. Somebody else was doing something, and that depends on your business. I mean, in my case, there was a vendor involved who was sending data. There was a data warehouse team involved, but it wasn't my thing. So I wanted to say that, hey, that's not me. So the ninja trick is that I would say that, hey, date refreshed is the date I ran, or actually, yeah, I mean, I worded it slightly differently. So the two things that I would show is, A, the date that I ran the refresh. And that would generally be every day because it was an automatic refresh. So it'll say, yep, I ran the refresh this morning. But then it'll say that, oh, but I only have data till, and let's say that I only have data till, Wednesday, December 9th, then it'll say that. So I have data till Wednesday 9th, but I ran the refresh this morning. And then it took a little bit of training to the users, but then they got it. Then they understood how to read it, right? So if the refresh said refresh this morning, then they wouldn't come to me. If it was refreshed, right, but the data was not up to date, then they knew to go to the data warehouse team and say, hey, it seems the data isn't there. What's going on? So, yeah, that's a pretty cool trick. Cool. Peel has another view. There we go. Oh, that is the second one. It looked similar, so we may not spend a lot of time there. Oh, wow. So this is also a very smart trick, a very smart approach. I love it. So for one, it's helpful because really I don't need to spend any time on this, right? I mean, this one is following the exact same pattern as that one. But this is a very, very smart way of doing things. So you know how I talked about the power pattern? It's extremely powerful if you have like 5 pages which are maybe showing different things. One is showing sales, one is showing shipment, and so forth. And sometimes when people build dashboards, you go to each page and each page is built from scratch and looks completely new and different. And that can be hard for users to absorb. But if you follow the power pattern and you create a pattern and then each page is consistent, right? So again, I mean, if I'm showing sales, then I'm showing different data on those elements. But the elements are consistent. I have the high level numbers in the exact same spot. I have the trend in the exact same spot. So on the next page, if I'm showing shipment, again, the metrics would change. Maybe here I'm showing the numbers of trucks or something like that, right? So the numbers would change, but the positioning would stay the same. The pattern would stay the same. And that makes it amazingly powerful and really, really fast for users to kind of absorb it. Whew. All right. So Kendall had a feedback. She's saying, "Hey, select period should be at the top." Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it again. The whole mixing of dashboard and website. So probably here. I mean, it does seem like we have some space for it. So that's really nice. Oh, I did notice the commentary. That one is awesome. And as far as I can tell, I think that is being automatically generated. I haven't done this myself, I admit, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's a built-in visual now. There have been customer visuals who would do this, but that is kind of cool, right? I mean, that it's plugging in these numbers. So the way I'm understanding it is that it just plugs in these numbers, but the rest of the commentary changed. But right, it reads like a commentary. So at this had the highest retail net sales, data higher than all of that, and these elements come plug and play with possibly measures and so forth. Whew. All right, guys. Hey, so this was fantastic. Hopefully you enjoyed half as much as I did, which would mean you had a lot of fun. So let's go back and To kind of wrap things up, again, dashboard showcase and makeover. The premise behind this is really, really simple, because I believe that in this day and age, you can't just do good work and then cross your fingers and hope to succeed. The world has changed. We live in different times now. And if you look around, you notice that the people who are getting the breakthrough success often or always are folks who don't just do good work, but tell great stories about their work. Now, telling great stories, you may do this in this setting. That's why we've created this platform, kind of a YouTube, or you imagine you're speaking at a conference, or obviously virtual conference these days. But stories are most powerful often in one-on-one setting, when you are talking to an employer, prospective client, in an interview, during your annual review, all of that stuff, all of those settings. And yes, storytelling, you should have a strong story about your work. Like, this is what I did. This is the problem that I solved. This was the impact of that, right? So because if you can tell your powerful story, that's going to work in your favor, rather than, again, just doing good work and then, you cross your fingers and say, oh, well, I hope they notice. So, so that's the world we live in. So although you could be telling the story in a lot of different settings, maybe on a stage, maybe one-on-one, but one thing is true, you're going to get better with practice. And you're not going to get better if you never get started. So this is our platform to give you a chance to either come and share the story about your work, about what you've accomplished, what you've done, maybe for the first time, or maybe for the next time. And of course, every time you get to tell the story, it becomes more and more powerful. And of course, a great example is Matthias. I mean, of course, I noticed that he's been popping up, but he shared today that he made a commitment that he is gonna show up and not just be on the sidelines watching, because that's the easy thing, right? I mean, you sit in the audience, sit in the bleachers, right? But who's gonna have what's better? I mean, would you rather do that, or do you think you would get better results if you put on the armor and step into the arena? Well, those are the stars. That's the game. That's where the game is being played, right? So Matthias, of course, amazing. I mean, had a commitment to show up for every dashboard, and he has. Every time he has shared something, some part of the story. And of course, today was no exception. So guys, that's what this is about. By the way, 2 upcoming programs, Power BI Consultant. So if you want to grow on that path, that one is opening January 2021. We are super duper excited. For now, at least the plan that we have is we're calling it the Power BI Consultant Launchpad. And we want to create a craft, a 5-day experience, maybe a 4-day, 5-day experience, and take you through that. And our goal is that you come through that transformed. Now, of course, at the end of that, we're going to invite you to join our program, but we want it to be a choice. We want people to get amazing results just in that 4 or 5-day transformation. I got to make up my mind if it's 4-day or 5-day, right? But the Power BI Consulting Launchpad. So that's what we are planning. I think the tentative dates are like the week of January 15th to 21 or something like that, right? So we're going to run that Launchpad, and again, we want that to be an amazing experience. So that is going to be free. That's going to be a free experience. We're going to love to see anybody who's interested in this topic. And of course, if you want to join that, then right now, just join the waitlist. That way you'll get to hear about when we kick that off. And yep, so that's that. And then, of course, we're doing something new in March. Now, Power BI Pioneer is, I say, somebody who is, well, pioneering Power BI within the organization, right? Spearheading that within the organization. And I have worked with, we have a lot of Power BI pioneers in our Learn Power BI program, and I have talked with them and we have heard their amazing stories. Some have come and spoken at our Power BI conference. So I have worked with them, but we didn't have a specific program for them. I felt like they needed more support, and there was no structure. We just didn't have it, right? I mean, so they got a little bit of Learn Power BI support from Learn Power BI, but the rest, frankly, was their own journey. I can't take credit for that. So this program, the idea is that, well, what if there was a program that supported them in their journey and maybe had some training, had some coaching, it was a community of Power BI pioneers? How awesome would that be? We don't know. We really don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be like super kick-ass awesome, but we don't know. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to kick that off in March and see how that goes. Now, of course, that is exactly how this program, the Power BI Consultant program, started. We didn't know. I didn't know. I started about 2 years ago, and I had no idea. But now we have such incredible stories. It's amazing, right? I mean, we were just hanging out yesterday, and I was hearing updates yesterday of the new things people are doing and what they're accomplishing. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. So when we started on this journey 2 years ago, we didn't know, but now it's been amazing. And of course, you're gonna get to hear from a lot of our current members as you go through January. And draw inspiration from it, like I do. But we're hoping that Power BI Pioneer becomes kind of the same. This group of kick-ass Power BI badasses, right? And again, right? I mean, guys, consulting, employee consultant, it's not that different. Frankly, it's about serving people. It's about serving others. In one role, they're choosing to serve people inside the organization. And in this case, they're serving, different clients, different companies. It's not that different from Power BI perspective. Of course, when you get into the details, the day-to-day, your life might look a little different and so forth, right? But otherwise, there's definitely kind of common ground. So, that's our plan for January 2021 and March 2021. So folks, Ajay is asking about the fees. What I'll say is wait till January. We're going to share all the details and about the program, about the fees and everything. So cool, guys. I will see you next time. And meanwhile, keep doing good work and telling great stories. Power on, my friends.